Hello, hello! I've been waiting for you. I'm Taren S, and this is the House of Witchcraft. And it's Pride Month, witches! Woo! We're celebrating rainbow folk all month long! Hello, 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 Crossroads Witches and other interesting magical beings. Today's a little different. As you can see, not only am I in the cottage, but I am sitting with two of the cottage witches who were kind enough and who also felt that this video was important enough that they were like, Taren, I want to come record this with you. And so I was so thrilled and everything else. I also want to give a shout out to all of my new subscribers. Thank you, folks. And to all of you who pressed that up like thing, please continue to do so because YouTube likes it. I found that out. I got some insider information.
YouTube likes the likes.
YouTube likes. Okay. All right. So I want to start by introducing the witches I got. I've got Miss Lilith over here. I think it's been a little while since we've had you on camera.
Yeah, a little bit.
But if you go back to some of the old stuff,
yeah,
you're there.
Some of the OG content.
Some of the very original bad sound, the camera sideways content.
Still had animations.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because I found the button. And then, of course, over here we have Miss Dana, who you have as well seen on many of the videos that I do. They are both members of the Cottage Witches Coven here in San Diego. Please do not email asking to join. I'm going to first give this disclaimer, witches. We wish you could all join, but this group is for folks that are in physical with each other. We all live in the area. We come to the cottage.
I guess you've gotten that a time or two, huh?
Every time I put the witches up, somebody emails me wanting, and then I have to explain that, you know, that Idaho is a little far away.
We would love to have you, but the commute would be a little difficult.
And there are groups in your area. You're going to have to look for them. I promise they're out there. It's just keep looking. All right, so we're going to talk about today's subject. And I called the video, All Witches Are Mental. Because after 40 years in the community, I really feel like that's a fair statement. All right? And as a witch who has stood in space on both coasts, and in a couple of other countries and talked with folks on all levels, yeah, we're mental. And the best ways possible, all right? Not all mental is bad mental. Some mentals are good mentals. So, first, my big reason for doing this video was that just a couple of weeks ago, I was up on social media. A little blurb came out about witchcraft and using mental health medications. And that if somehow you use a mental health medication, then you can't be a witch, you can't do magic, you can't be a practitioner, you can't do. And I want to say, no.
Absolutely not.
All right, let me just, no. This is so dangerous, witches. And I'm going to give just a little bit of history on why do we even think that in the first place. All right, where does it come from? Where is the root of the bullshit? Because if we look into actual magical history, folk magic history, even into high magic ceremonial history, we find the use for when we do altered states of consciousness, there is a definite use of substances. All right?
Altered state of minds are not new.
Right.
No.
In thousands of years.
No.
Okay, right. So where did we all of a sudden come up with the idea that you can't do any type of psychedelic mind altering, you cannot drink alcohol in sacred space, and you can't smoke cigars either in sacred space? Where did all of this come from? I got one person's name, Gerald Gardner, the father, the founder, the originator of Wicca. All right? When his first came out and started his group, he wanted basically to create what his vision of the perfect witch was. All right, this included only a balanced circle, equal number of women to equal number of men. You had to stand, man, woman, man, woman, man, woman. Homosexuality was not allowed. Alcohol was not allowed. Cigars weren't allowed. Any mind-altering substances weren't allowed.
Couldn't even have coffee, probably.
Probably not.
I'm sad just thinking about it.
But it was a very idealistic view that actually only lasted for a short time within it before the Garnerians themselves realized this probably isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Maybe not realistic even.
Right. So, that's where it started. Mm-hmm. And then they realized this probably wasn't healthy, this isn't working.
Mm-hmm. Which is why a majority of maybe Wiccans might not even know that that's where it originated, because it didn't stick long enough for it to become really a deep part of the history, a known part of the history, mm-hmm. but that is where we can track that one specific rule down, because before that time, we weren't looking down on medication, or it wasn't even a subject, it wasn't even a topic.
Well, mental health really wasn't a subject at all.
Touche.
And which is a sad statement on its own. But everything you're saying is that this was one little encapsulated. You will find references to it in older books within some of the old school Garnerians, and also some of their other initiated branches. They still do say this, and that's disturbing.
It's not only disturbing; it's dangerous.
It's dangerous. It's reckless. It's horrific. We have new folks coming into our community and to be presented that type of information. And so that is where we are. Where does it come? Why do we say it? Mm-hmm. Now I want you to meet some modern witches.
Who apparently Gardner wouldn't like us one bit.
Who would not be allowed in Gardner's circle.
But I think that makes me very proud.
Right? I'm a queer witch who smokes cigars, drinks alcohol, takes medication, and I cuss really loud, so I don't think he'd like me one bit.
Yes, I agree with all those statements.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, if you're not pissing off an 80-year-old white man, are you really living?
Y'all are terrible. Y'all are just terrible. All right.
Absolutely. But yeah, both of us here have very different stories, but still down the same path. Me and Lilith have been friends for eons now, since we were both wee little tots. And we've both been there for each other within our individual journeys. And, my biggest thing that I want to try and explain to people is that you are not alone. And the thing with mental illness, especially if at this moment maybe you're not able to take care of it in the way that you need to, it makes you feel very alone, and it makes you feel like these thoughts that you're having, there's something wrong with you and you're the only person who's thinking that and whatnot. And the best advice that I want to give to you is to just reach out to your friends, and if you have people around you that you feel safe to talk about it, and acknowledge that there's nothing that anyone can do maybe in that moment, because the people that we love, when they come to us struggling, we all want to help. We want to immediately, what can I do? And you as the person struggling know that there's nothing really that person can do, but the immense weight that comes off of you once you finally get things off of your chest and release it is utterly mind-blowing, and it's a hard journey. You can't give up. No one's going to advocate for you but you. You have to be your biggest advocate. Myself, I've been on a journey with therapy, which has been amazing, but I finally this year decided to get onto actual medication to help with the anxiety, the PTSD, the depression, I'm just going to be raw in it because, people struggle, self-harm, things like that. These are all struggles I've lived with my entire life, and I thought I was never going to be able to find a relief. And through amazing therapy, through amazing friends who held space for me in the most beautiful ways, I was able to finally get started on the other half of my journey, which is medication. I started that journey in February, and it is now it's June, okay, month, and I am just now finally able to get onto my medication. It was hard. It was so many appointments. There's Zoom nowadays. It's so helpful being able to take your doctor's appointments by Zoom. But just do it. Just get up one day and put it on your calendar that that's going to be the day you do it, and just do it. No one is going to advocate for you but you. But don't let yourself feel alone in this, because we all are mental. All witches are mental, and you'll find that most people are mental too. And the more we talk about it, it's going to be normalized.
It needs to be spoke out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it. I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Hi. And it's really hard. I think we need to acknowledge that it is hard to take that first step of even acknowledging it in yourself, but also to bring it to other people. And I like to say nobody's going to be ever completely ready. You just need to be ready enough in yourself to find somebody that you really trust and feel comforted, by. And that's probably the person that you can find that safety with. And that is the first step.
That was something that you had both of you had made about speaking it out loud, being in a space. If you're part of a good, healthy group organization, they should be able to hold space for you so that you can speak these words. And like for us, when Dana, I'm going to get a little personal, had a moment in the cottage where we were all here and Dana was like, I need to say something. And she spoke her truth, a very dark truth that she was feeling in the moment. It's not like you said, we didn't try to fix it. We're not here to fix her stuff. We were here to hold space so that she could speak it out loud for herself. All right? And that's what, when we talk about moon brothers and sisters, what we do is we hold space for each other through the good and the bad, through the magic and the mud. All right? And to be able to be in a group that allows you to speak that, all right? Without judging, without giving opinions, without trying to fix it.
Yeah.
They just are like, all right, good. If I remember, we all just sat there and nodded.
You guys gave me a really big hug, and half of you whispered in my ear, oh my God, me too. I've been thinking the same things, and wonderful other sweet things that made me cry, ugly, weird tears. It gets weird, but it was beautiful, and you guys were just there for me. And that is still what I use as reference as the start of my uphill journey within my mental health again.
And how important it is for you witches, if you have another friend that's feeling this way and they say something, don't feel like you have to fix it. Don't feel like you got to offer up solutions, suggestions. All you do is have to sit there and just let them say it out loud.
Just to be there.
Hold their hand. Like you said, we hugged you. We had just acknowledged that's where she is in this moment. And her words, which were healing herself, were also healing all of us. And so it's both ways. All right? When you speak this out loud, you potentially are healing others around you. All right? And that is so important. And if you are part of a group or around people that are saying the other side of this of don't do that, no.
Be your true self.
Whatever, honey, just back out of the room slowly. That's all you gotta do. There ain't nothing you can say to these fools.
Exactly. The thing that is so important to discuss too, and it's a new way that a lot of us have been framing these conversations as well too, is that the brain is simply another organ within your body. And just as a diabetic needs sugar and needs insulin to maintain that organ in their body that does not naturally produce it, there is a chemical lacking within your organ, your brain, that it does not naturally produce, just as a diabetic would. So why is the diabetic who takes insulin not being held to the same standard as, someone who is taking medication for bipolar, for anxiety, for anything of that nature? It is simply a brain in your body that's malfunctioning.
It's an organ, like you said, we were talking, like if I have a heart issue, where I need meds because to keep my heart beating, where it might skip a beat, have issues. Nobody thinks anything about that. Nobody thinks anything about it. And if we really, I was joking with Dana earlier about if we look to Egyptian mythology, one of the most magical civilizations, cultures there is. All right, they noodled the brain. They didn't save it.
They didn't think it was important.
It wasn't that important. They didn't put it in a Coptic jar. They just reached right in and threw that, slap it on the floor. That was not important to them. All right, you know.
Sometimes I want to slap my brain on the floor, but that's a different, thing.
But in the magical, what they deemed magical organs, purposeful organs, guess what? The brain was not on the list. It was the heart. The heart is where it holds everything, So I sometimes think about that when they're talking, oh, you have to have your brain. I'm like, well, the Egyptians didn't. They didn't seem it to be very necessary at all, It was just another organ that you needed to do something with. And that's how you need to think about your brain. It's just another organ that you got to do something with. No different than somebody who has arthritis, their joints, they take meds. We talked about diabetics, we talked about heart issues, any medical condition. That is what this is.
Because we know insulin in the body is a chemical, but you know what else is a chemical? Dopamine, serotonin. And if your body can't produce it or regulate it normally, store-bought is okay.
Store-bought's fine.
Just saying.
Yes. That is, and I think we are changing it, but we have these vestiges of the past, and we do have people that periodically pass this misinformation along that, oh, you can't, be doing any type of meds for mental health and doing magic. And, I've had the whole conversation over and over in my head of, well, you need the meds to do the magic.
Well,
if you need to get back to your normal, whatever your normal is, but if you need to be able to regulate your highs and lows, you said get the anxiety, get the stress, get those dark thoughts out of your brain. Now that you've done all that, now you do have time to focus on magic.
Well, speaking of focus, another one that people seem to, more and more information is coming out and more people are being diagnosed, but ADHD. How many people, I'm speaking of witches who've stood in public circles before, how many of you sometimes just couldn't sit still, or you were standing next to someone who just couldn't sit still throughout ritual and it was just driving you batshit? And potentially just, we've got a bunch of ADHD witches, so I'm speaking from big experience. And the witches, when we are on our medication, have a much easier time getting into space, staying in headspace. I wonder why.
Well, and I remember, I have had a very long mental health journey from childhood, and it's had its ebbs and flows of treatments. And heck, when we started, with the cottage, I was not medicated, and that was a little
good days,
but it also made it so that I didn't have the energy to go be magical. I didn't feel magical. I was just stuck in my bed, really. But when I got myself back on track with a lot of help from a lot of people, but this one, she'll make sure you eat so you can take your meds.
Latina, I cook.
And so once I was getting back on track, what do you know? I felt so powerful. I felt so magical. And the focus aspect. I have bipolar and ADHD. What a combo, to say the least. And I was able to sit still. I was able to focus in on, group magic, but my own. Whereas before I could not do that. I wasn't me. I was just a body in a bed.
Be you, witches. Choose to be you.
Part of our authentic voice. All right, and the next part is really making sure that you are around people who are in supporting your journey. All right, encourage, inspire, empower. All right, if that's not happening, these are not people looking at your best interest. All right, and back out of the room slowly. Go find folks. They're out there. We have great organizations. Of course, we're going to tell you, I'm going to leave at the end of the video, the 1-800 number. Please call it.
And another thing that, has occurred to me is, especially in magic spaces, there are definite people who are role models and that we look up to. And, it's a human tendency to think that our role models have everything together and are perfect, don't have any issues. But it can be a helpful tool when, you find out that somebody that you look up to so highly has their own struggles, as everyone does. That can open the door to facilitating others and realizing, oh, wow, okay, everybody has something, and maybe I can actually talk to this person. So, us being willing, and I don't mean just us, witches in general, being willing and ready to talk about it can help so many other individuals.
It's a call to action, witches. We got to talk about it.
Yes. We need to include it in our daily spiritual practice. Self-care is so important. Magic's within. You gotta care for this. First, like Lila said, after you care for this, then you feel magical.
You can do so many things.
You feel so amazing. All right, witches, I hope that we inspired you, made you realize you're not alone. All right? There are many of us. I would almost counter the argument with a lot of our elders are really mental. But in a good way, where they have had the tools, they have learned to deal with it. They understand it. They've gone down those medical rabbit holes. All right. And they embrace it. If you are around folks that are saying no, back out of the room. That's just my biggest message right now. Don't listen to these fools.
Nobody needs that kind of negativity.
No.
Be telling folks that you shouldn't take medical medication. It's dangerous. Period. And it has nothing within spiritual practice, within magical practice. You should never say anything like that to anybody.
No.
All right. We're going to end this video. I hope y'all, like I said, were inspired and everything else. All right, witches, we just want you to know you're not alone. All right. We're here. A lot of other folks are here. And when you're in that space, speak it out loud. Let it out.
And if you need to, if you're too nervous and it's too anxious and inducing to do that in front of someone and maybe even you love right now, the next full moon, go outside, even if you're by yourself, and stand under that full moon on your apartment patio, on your beautiful acres of yard, whatever you have. And remember that by doing that, you are linking yourself to this earth where hundreds and thousands of other witches are going to be outside under that full moon too. And speak it aloud to us. If you can't say it to your friends first and you need to say it to yourself, feel empowered under this next moon and say it aloud, knowing that even though we're not there with you physically, magically under the full moon, all witches are connected.
Yes.
You are seen and you are heard.
And we love you.
All right. Y'all go out there, fly them brooms, and have a bright, blessed day. And as always, amen, blessed be, ashe, and a-bo-bo.
Bye, guys. Take your meds.
Please. And drink water.